We got news this week that Kyrie is now officially going to be able to play at home in Brooklyn for the first time this year. Boding well for Brooklyn come playoff time. He still won't be able to play in a potential play-in matchup in Toronto, but outside of that, he will be available for Brooklyn at home come playoff time, making them a little bit more of a threat in the Eastern Conference. How serious of a threat do you consider them to be in the playoffs, Tyrik?
We said before we started recording, but if I'm the Boston Celtics, I'm avoiding the top 2 seeds. I don't want to be a top 2 team because the idea of even playing this team in the first round, whether Ben Simmons is playing or not, which we're just going to assume he's not playing, I don't want to see Kyrie and KD in a 7-game series in the first round as a top 2 seed. That's just like that sounds like a grueling battle, and I don't want to have to face them, man. Even if Ben Simmons is not playing, this team is still going to be something to contend with. Nobody wants to see them in the first round, bro, especially Kyrie in the postseason, KD in the postseason. That's enough right there. Seth Curry's had one of the best, or if not the best season of his career. And other guys, they're going to be able to feed off of them. So it's a scary team to play in the first round. So it's good to see Kyrie will be able to play home games, though. I think that's something we've just been wanting to see all year. So that's finally going to get to happen. I saw a report. They said Ben Simmons, his back is there's a lot less pain now. But I would be surprised if he even played at any point before the postseason or in the postseason. So this is basically the team they got going forward, but that's a scary first-round matchup for sure.
Yes, assuming that they have what they have, and it's just the team they're fielding right now, Kyrie's been unstoppable recently. It's literally nobody can do a damn thing about it. If that man wants to get some points, he's going to get some points. And he's just going to do whatever he wants. With that being said, that has not always resulted in wins in their recent games. He'll play well, KD will play well, and sometimes it's still just not enough. And so even with that, I still think they're a pretty decent threat because you get to the playoffs, stars elevate, more ISO-heavy offense. They got 2 of the best in the game at that. If they have you in a close one down the stretch, I'm probably betting on them over any other star duo in this conference.
Real quick, though. This is the only thing that concerns me about this team, even at full strength. I don't trust Steve Nash at all. I saw a TikTok the other day, and he was basically saying, there's not really any, just bad coaches in the league. And I got to thinking, and I'm like, Steve Nash might be, one of the worst. I just don't trust him, bro. He doesn't really do any coaching, bro. He just puts guys in positions, basically. It's really just KD and Kyrie doing the work. So I don't trust Steve Nash as a head coach in the playoff situation. But like you said, Gabe, when you got 2 guys of that caliber, sometimes that offsets things like bad coaching.
Yeah, it will be really interesting to see that, the whole matchup aspect. And I think you've seen with, the Heat's bubble run or, other recent playoff runs. Sometimes if a coach really goes out and has a good scheme and a good game plan for a different team, they can put some work in on him and cause an upset. And it's yeah, that makes it really hard with Nash because, you got your 2 stars, but then how are you maximizing the guys around them? And it seems like he has not been able to do that consistently, so that is a very big red flag.
Yeah, I think that's definitely something to look into moving forward because even just the potential first-round matchup against Miami, which as of right now is very much possible, Spoelstra and how they play that defense against the Nets could be quite impactful from just a pure performance standpoint, but also from a standpoint of, is Steve Nash going to be able to make those in-series adjustments that are going to be needed? Because as you said, Tyrik, Steve Nash isn't a great head coach even from an NBA standpoint, and definitely from those top 8 teams in the Eastern Conference right now was nowhere near the caliber of any of those other head coaches. And so an adjustment in series could be a question mark. They're probably lucky from a pure coaching standpoint that the Raptors would be a play-in game matchup as of right now and not a series, because Nick Nurse playing X's and O's and throwing everything he would have defensively at Brooklyn, as good as Brooklyn are offensively, would probably throw some questions towards Steve Nash's coaching ability. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how that impacts them moving forward. But there's no doubt Kyrie has been brilliant this year and is going to be a big part of their playoff run moving forward now that he can play at home. I'm interested to see how he continues to play into the playoffs, though, and specifically in the next year. Not that I doubt that he'll continue to play well, but I wonder how much he's been helped this year by the fact that like he hasn't had anywhere near as much playing time. He's had more rest. His knees haven't had as much effort and taxation on them. So I still think he'll continue to play well into the playoffs. But the fact that he's been able to have so much extra rest and so much more recovery on his body this year as well, I don't doubt has probably played a bit of an impact in how well he's been able to play this year.
I didn't even think about that. That's a great point. That's kind of like the bubble year, like how AD didn't have to play like the last 20 or so games of the season. So he was fresh once the playoffs came around. That's actually a good point. But I know y'all saw, I think it was earlier today, Kyrie said he's going to resign.
Yeah.
I've heard that before.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that notification and I gave myself a little chuckle. I was like, what can you do? What can you do? I assume this time it's probably a little bit more genuine because I think that they don't necessarily have that overwhelming favorite expectations, whereas I feel like a lot of people were certain that 2019 Celtics team was coming out of the East. So I feel like if this team makes the first round and then loses because they get matched up with a 1 or a 2 seed, okay, because they have Ben Simmons who they have not played with yet. So I think it's less of a what can go wrong because it seems like every factor has been going against them all season.
I also think his affiliation with KD probably means more than any affiliation he's had with the franchise as far as his loyalty to stay. If KD was a free agent as well, I'd have more concerns. But with KD locked up, I think it makes it a lot more certain that Kyrie probably comes back.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. I hope so because I want to see that team at full strength next season. I think Ben Simmons, he's got a point to prove, and I feel like this is the perfect situation for him. So I think next season is probably their window, but they're still going to be a scary out no matter who they play in the first round this year.